Hello and welcome. This is a new webinar that I just created called Turning Anxiety into Abundance: How to Manifest in Uncertain Times. And I really was inspired to create this webinar a couple months ago because I feel like we live in unprecedented uncertainty right now. And really, we manifest best when we feel certain and safe and things like that. So, through the course of this webinar, I'm going to share a lot of different tools and help you understand how to unlock manifesting and basically bring yourself to emotional certainty. Even if it's an uncertain world outside of you, you can still be certain within yourself. So, a little bit about me. If you don't know me very well, my name is Kitty Coy. I have literally my degree is in neuroscience. I graduated from CU Boulder. I worked for 10 years as a behavioral neurophysiological researcher, which means I studied how the structure of your brain affects your behavior and how your behavior actually changes the structure of your brain. After 10 years as a neuroscientist, I love neuroscience, but I left to come be a neuroscience-based mindset coach. And I am specifically a magnetic mind coach. And that means that I help driven female entrepreneurs get crystal clear in their heart's deepest desires, not what our brain wants, but what our heart wants. And then using neuroscience based tools, release the resistance, which could be fear, self doubt, procrastination, unworthiness, so that they can get into action. And I teach people how to turn their mind into magnets to attract whatever it is that they desire. I'm certified in meditation, mindset, NLP. There's a lot of different certifications I have. I do super conscious recoding, which is a high level neuroscience technique that helps get rid of self doubt and fear and procrastination in just minutes. And it's quick and simple and easy. And I personally am a manifesting machine. I mean, we're all, surprised, we're all manifesting machines. We manifest every single day, many times a day. The question is, are you manifesting your wildest dreams or your worst nightmares? Because unfortunately, when we're uncertain, we flip that switch and start manifesting our wildest nightmares. But my journey with manifesting, really, the awareness I had around how much control I have over it started in April 2018. We had just bought a home and I went to the Denver Home Expo and I saw a booth as we were strolling around on this beautiful April day, my husband and I saw this booth that was giving away $500 Home Depot gift certificates. And I have a lot of luck in winning door prizes and things like that. So I was like, oh, totally going to win this Home Depot gift certificate. As I'm filling out the little piece of paper, they had to check a box at the bottom. If you want to be entered in the grand prize, one person wins this prize every day. And in a busy day, like when we were there, 20,000 people were in the door, not counting the vendors, just participants. And so I fill out the form, I check the box, but I was really going for the Home Depot gift certificate. I completely forget that I submitted my name. Ring, 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 3 days later, and I answer the phone, and they're like, Kitty, you won the all inclusive paid vacation trip to Mexico for two, the grand prize. One in 20,000 people won, and it's me. That year in 2018, I manifested 7 free vacations, which is crazy, in just 12 months. And that's when I realized I had created and I finally understood the protocol of how to manifest consistently. So I will share that protocol with you towards the end of this call today. But just so we can get all on the same plane, I want to share what is manifesting. And it is simply turning your thoughts into things, thinking about something in your mind that you want to create in the real 3D world. And I love this quote from Albert Einstein, which is actually 90 something years old. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but create that reality. It can be no other way. This is not a philosophy. This is quantum physics. And I just wanted to get on the same plane because a lot of people think about manifestation as like a religious practice or a philosophy, or wouldn't it be neat? But a manifestation is actually deeply based in quantum physics. We're not going to talk about the quantum physics today. If you want to learn more about that, you can come to, I do other webinars or I'll share the recording, How to Become a Manifesting Machine. That's when we dig into quantum physics. For today, I'm just going to give you a high level view of the science behind manifestation. And I want to just start off by saying I'm credit about this picture goes to Heart Math. So this is your torus, a toric field. This is the shape of it is a torus, which looks like a really cakey donut, or like it was a donut, but then it grew in, so there's no real hole in the middle. And this is what your energy field looks like. And everything is energy. Albert Einstein said it, and I'm willing to trust him as an expert on quantum physics. And if everything is energy, that means each thought, each belief, and each emotion has its own energy. And if they each have their own energy, and as a frame of reference, you have up to 80,000 thoughts every day. You can have tens of thousands of beliefs you're holding in any given moment. And there are 128 emotions, and you can cycle through each and every one of them multiple times, if not dozens of times a day. So, together, each thought has an energy, each belief has an energy, each emotion has an energy. And so that is what creates this energetic field that surrounds you. It's your thoughts, your beliefs, and your emotions, the frequency that comes from those. And then this field is what ends up doing the attracting for you in your life. And so we have and again, Heart Math has proven this. They've actually measured, that's why they know what this field looks like. Heart Math has proven this, but what happens is your field is what's doing all of the manifesting for you. And so if you're having, let's say, a bad day, you're going through not only having this thought, I'm having a bad day, bad day, bad day. You're having emotions, maybe like sadness or anger or anxiety or whatever that is. And then you're holding these emotions in your field, and like attracts like. So when you're having a bad day, you will attract, and your subconscious has two jobs: keep you safe and prove you right. So even if you're what you're thinking is I'm having a bad day, your energy field says, great, I'll give you more things to help you have a bad day. And so this like attracts like. Thankfully, the same is true when you have a good day and you're walking around out like, having just the best possible day. You hit all green lights on your way to work. Somebody buys you a coffee, like you get some compliments, all of these good things. And it's because you have this energy of I'm having a great day in your field. So it's really originating. Our beliefs and our emotions live in our subconscious mind. Our thoughts are in our conscious mind, but that's all projecting this energy outside of us, which is what is doing all of the attracting. And if like attracts like, then love attracts love. This is it's called The Map of Consciousness by Dr. David Hawkins. He wrote about this in a book called Power versus Force, but I just call it the chart of emotions, because you'll notice on the left-hand side, this is the number, the frequency or the energy associated with each emotion. And there's no such thing as a good or a bad emotion. It's just emotions you probably want to be feeling less of the time, like grief and apathy, guilt, shame, fear, anger. You probably want to be feeling these emotions less than you want to be feeling peace, love, joy, acceptance, willingness. So just to note, each emotion has its own energy band or energy level. And higher level emotions, notice, that have a higher number on this chart. And if like attracts like, when you're in this higher level place, you're actually attracting better things to you. I know that when I was in the honeymoon stage of my relationship with my husband, my life was spectacular. I was in a job that told me that there was no promotion capability. I was just going to be at that same level forever. And for the few months that I had, just fallen deeply in love with my husband, I got a promotion at my job. People would walk up to me and talk to me in a grocery store. I kept getting money for no reason. And it just like people wanted to be my friend. I got gifts. People just like showered me in amazing compliments and nice energy because I was living my whole life at the frequency of 500. And so I had that energy in my field, and I was attracting my energetic field. I was attracting things that reinforced me and made me love my life even more. So when you're in this place, and again, there's no such thing as a good or a bad emotion, but let's say you're in a place of guilt or shame and you are done feeling, or maybe even anger, it doesn't matter which emotion, but you're done feeling that emotion. Gratitude is the answer. And you might notice gratitude as an emotion isn't even actually on this chart, but it is actually well into 900, which is enlightenment. And fun little fact is the frequency of gratitude is 900. The frequency of abundance is 888 hertz, which means they're only 12 apart. So anytime you're wanting to increase your abundance, focus on your gratitude. And and I want to honor when I was in like one of the darkest depressions of my life, and someone's like, just be grateful. I was like, "Ugh, thanks for that. It just didn't feel like very sound advice until I understood the science behind it. Is like, let's say if I'm living my whole life in grief, and most of the day I'm at 75 on this Hertz chart. Every minute I'm in gratitude, I'm pulling my frequency up to 900. So when they say raise your vibration, that's literally what they mean because frequency and energy, like this is the number associated with our emotional vibration, which we're going to get more into in a minute. But every minute you spend in gratitude is you average wherever you were with 900. So in this way, you are actually naturally pulling yourself up this chart. And the nice thing about any emotion is when it's conditioned in your body and practiced, you actually spend more and more and more time in that emotion. So, and whether it's conscious or unconscious. So, when you first start something like a gratitude journal, maybe you're only feeling gratitude in the emotion when you're actually journaling on it. But once you've practiced that again and again, you've conditioned the feeling of gratitude in your body. And then you actually, then you're in it, you're grateful for 5 minutes after the exercise. Then it's 10 minutes. Maybe it's an hour and it just builds and builds till you're spending more and more of your life in this place of gratitude, attracting more and more amazing things to you. And the reason this matters is because whatever you focus on expands exponentially. You could see the glass is half full or the glass is half empty, but whatever your focus on is, and when it's half full, your focus is on the abundance of what's there. And when you're focusing on a glass being half empty, you're focusing on the scarcity of that thing. And so if you're in a place of scarcity, all you can see is scarcity. When you're in a place of abundance, all you can see is abundance. And we'll again talk about that a little bit more, but just know that whatever your focus is expands exponentially in your life. And the reason why this matters so much is we are living in very unprecedented times. And the level of uncertainty we have in the year 2025 is astronomically higher than it was in any other year previously in our recent memory. And so I don't know if you've noticed, but I've certainly noticed people just are anxious. Like, and there is this like fear because we have some changes in the United States in our economy, and like there's just all these things that are happening that have never happened before. And we don't like I mean our caveman brain is hardwired to cling to safety through things that we've survived before, and there's so many brand new things that we don't feel like we feel like the safety blanket we used to have is gone. And so, and this is kind of what I was saying is we're in this brand new situation we've never been in before. And so what that is unconsciously communicating to our nervous system and our emotions is that we're not safe. But you have to feel safe to be able to manifest your wildest dreams. So that's what we're going to talk about today is how do you shift that? And and yes, there is a lot of anxiety and uncertainty and crazy things happening in the news and all of that, but news media outlets are actually designed to make us fearful. And I learned this over 10 years ago. By the way, this picture is my art card that I take to Burning Man events. It's an octopus cat called the Octopussy, and the little thing underneath, it's a little Geo Metro that we drive around, and so it's like a parade float. And when we were building this, we were looking for creative funding opportunities. Like, how do we crowdsource supplies that we need from, because I'm all about upcycling. How do we crowdsource supplies and some additional funding? So I went to local news media outlets and pitched them this story. Two Colorado natives who fell in love, and this is actually all true, who fell in love building this art project against all odds. And we just needed a little bit of support and some things like that because it was such a like feel good, warm, fuzzy story about how neither of us knew how to do it, but we followed creative nudges and created this amazing thing that we share. And then our purpose is to inspire other people and support other people to create their own art. And I pitched this idea to all the local news media outlets, and they all said, "No, thank you." And I wasn't trying to get like a TV like segment. I was like if I like, could I talk to a reporter or could I write a story and you guys publish it on like page 9 of your website? Like it just like somewhere. So I have some um digital presence in a news media source. And they all said, absolutely not. If it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead. And what they communicated to me is we only share scary stuff. We only share, and like, yes, there's some feel good segments and some things, but I was just blown away that they were like, no, we only want to scare people and like feed them scary stuff because that's what people are addicted to reading and that's what but that reinforces the idea that we're unsafe, which makes it's this whole thing. So anyways, I just wanted to share that I that is the moment when I said, okay, well, I'm not gonna pay attention to the news. I mean, that's not to mean I'm completely uneducated. I find different ways to stay educated. But when every single news media outlet said, what, who died, who got sick, who hurt, what bad things happened to you, and they only wanted to talk about bad things, that's when I was like, I'm for my own mental health cutting off the news. So, and the reason why this is so important is in caveman times, many thousands and millions or whatever years ago, our brains are hardwired to focus on survival. And so if we are, in a caveman tribe together and some snake slithers into the camp, bites someone and they died, my life and my family's life and everyone I love, their life depends on me remembering exactly what that snake looked like. So our brains are actually cued in to take fearful information and amplify it. And we cling to these fearful things. So if our brains are addicted to looking at the fear and news media outlets are spoon feeding us fear, it creates this cycle where we feel fearful, we feel disempowered, all of these things. And in reality, like let's look at our lives. Most people's lives are about 80% positive and about 20% negative. But here's the kicker in how our brains are hardwired for safety and hardwired to look at that fear. This negative part of our brains is actually wired to amplify 3 times. So even when our lives are 80% positive, they feel like they're 20 times 3, the 60% negative. And so this is a good day. Let's say you actually have some things going on in your life that are more negative, and your life is 60% positive and 40% negative. Well, now that 40% feels like 120% because of how our brains are wired. So another way to look at this is you can only see less than 0.0000003% of all information that's coming to you. And this is because your brain filters out information to prevent overwhelm. There's a study in the 1950s that showed that every single second, our brain is receiving 5 billion with a B bits of information. That's a lot of information per second. And if our brain processed all that information, we would live in this state of perpetual overwhelm. So we have the reticular activating system in our brain. And what it does is it filters out information. And as crazy as this is, you have 5 billion bits of information per second coming to you, but we can only process 126 out of 5 billion. And this means 99.9999997% of all information never actually makes it past the filter. And by information, I mean like if I'm wearing shoes, the different receptors on my feet feel feel my shoes on my feet. My skin can feel the air temperature. Like I'm getting feedback about all the colors I'm looking at. I can hear things. All of this is what adds up to be 5 billion bits of information per second. And if that was in the 1950s, before we had smartphones and like before TV was a thing that we just like had in our pocket every day, and all these videos and things like that, can you even imagine how many billions of bits of information our brain is receiving now? Now that we have all of these external stimulus, there's advertising everywhere, whether we realize it or not. So 75 years later, I can only imagine that this is like 500 billion bits of information per second. But this 126 may have gone up, but it's still, the ratio is still the same, that we're still always going to block out, 99.999997% of all information. And remember, what I said earlier is your brain wants to prove you right. So, what is the information that's getting stuck in the filter and never passing through? Well, the only thing that can pass through it reinforces your beliefs and your fears. So if you're afraid that you're going to get struck by lightning, your likelihood of getting struck by lightning is that much greater because that's what you're afraid of. And so whatever you're focusing on expands. And remember, we're unconsciously living to prove our limiting beliefs and fears right. That is how our subconscious is wired. And so that's really unfortunate because this is how we start manifesting our worst nightmares. And how many times has it happened? I hear people have said things like Murphy's Law. Murphy isn't a person. Murphy's Law isn't real. What that is saying and communicating is that you have, like, when we have a fear something's going to happen, of course it's going to, like, more likely to happen because we can only actually see information that proves that right, which makes us more fearful that that thing is going to happen, so we actually manifest it. So we literally truly cause ourselves to live our worst nightmares sometimes. So, like I said, this, whatever you believe is true. So what do you believe? Whatever you believe is the only thing that's being allowed through the filter. That's what we're seeing. So if you think the world is a crazy, scary place, all you can see is all of the crazy, scary things around you. But what I decided a long time ago when I cut out news media and most of the mainstream stuff that's going on as far as news, I started intentionally focusing on things that lifted me up, things that felt good. I've heard this said before, when there's emergencies happening, don't focus on and you're like, you don't have any control, there's nothing you can do to help. Don't focus on the bad part happening, focus on the helpers. Like when things, like for example, that George Floyd and all these terrible things that were happening, and then this Black Lives Matter movement really raised up. These people are saying this is not okay. So I'm going to choose to focus on the helpers, the people that are saying, hey, this thing happened and I'm not cool with that. I'm not going to let it be repeated and I'm going to speak up against it. Those are the things I focus on, is how and where I can make a difference and how and where other people are making a difference. And because my brain is now intentionally trained to focus on uplifting things, I see them everywhere I go. Like I see, when somebody drops something, a stranger picks it up for them. Or, if you're carrying a bunch of things and whatever, I see that this, people want to open doors for me and other people, like that's what I see because that's what I believe is true. I'm choosing to believe that the world is a safe and loving, amazing place filled with really good people. And so that's what I'm focused on. And it's not, I want to be clear, it's not Pollyanna. It's not like toxic positivity where I'm just like, nothing bad is happening, but I'm just choosing not to give my mental energy and focus to things I don't want to look at. I'm choosing to focus on what I have control over, what I have the authority to shift and change. I'm choosing to focus on where I can make a difference and how other people are making a difference. And that's a choice I make every day. But it helps me live in this place where, yes, I see negative things because I'm informed about what's going on. So I'm still seeing what's happening, but that's not my focus. And when I see negative things happening in the news, because I'm focused on the positive, intentionally cultivating and crafting my world, I am not as rocked or scared when bad and scary negative things happen because I know, and I've cultivated this belief that there are benefits and good things that come out of each and every one of these negative experiences or negative things in the media. And the reason why this is so powerful is you have the power to shift everything by shifting your focus. Whatever you choose to focus on expands, and I'm choosing to focus on the things that help me feel good and leave me empowered. And so what does that do? That allows me to manifest more amazing things in my life. I'm able to manifest the people, places, and situations that I need to support me in my evolution and growth. And then as I create more abundance for myself, I then have the disposable income that I can then give back to my communities, and I can be of service at a much greater level because I'm choosing to focus on the things that help me feel empowered. And we'll talk about how you can do that a little bit. And the reason this is so darn important is where your mind goes, your emotional energy flows, and we are manifesting from emotional energy. And so, what that means is, we talked about this in the very beginning when I talked about your field, and you have 126 emotions that you can cycle through dozens of times every day. But really, your world is a response to your emotional frequency. If you have fear, and that's why I showed you the chart of the color chart of emotions, if you're in a place of fear, you will manifest things that make you feel fearful, because like attracts like. If you're in a place of love, you will attract things that help you feel love, because that is the frequency you're attracting, or that's the frequency you're in, and like attracts like. So your emotions are really driven by your thoughts and your beliefs. And because I believe that everything on earth is happening for me, not to me, even when negative things happen, I'm able to kind of detach emotionally and energetically and say, okay, this bad thing happened. How can I turn this into a gift? And but if I believe that the world is a scary place and I could be victimized at any given moment, or these, negative things will happen, I'm actually attracting the likelihood of those things. And again, emotions are driven by your thoughts and beliefs. So our fear, our grief, our anger, and our uncertainty are bringing us, the more time we spend in those emotions, the more time we're actually pulling down our vibration and spending. You probably don't want to be spending a lot of time feeling those emotions, but you're actually attracting things that will reinforce you staying stuck in that emotional chart. So to manifest what you want, you need to stay in this higher vibrational emotional energy. So let me explain that with a photo. And so just so you can understand a little bit better. So when we're in this place of, let's say, fear and grief, we're going to manifest more fear and grief, and we're going to manifest our worst nightmares. But if we can shift and change and be in this place of peace and love and joy and reason and acceptance, then we'll start manifesting our wildest dreams instead of our worst nightmares. And again, gratitude is the answer of how we pull our emotions up this frequency chart. But I just wanted to share, if like attracts life, when you're in this place, you're going to attract more people, resources, things that keep you stuck in this place. Versus when you're here, you'll attract more higher vibrational things that will keep you feeling love and joy and peace. So, how can you shift your focus? When it feels like the world is burning all around you, how can you shift your focus? And I really like to choose to focus on things that I have authority over. Control is an illusion, control doesn't exist. And we want to control things when we feel unsafe. So I like to use the word authority over. Like, what can I do? What actions can I take that will have an effect on the situation? And if there's no action I can take that has an effect on the situation, I release it and let it go. And I would say we can be really creative. You know what I mean? Like I talked about the George Floyd, you could put a sign in your yard that communicates your beliefs. You could talk to your friends, families, neighbors, coworkers. You can talk to the other people around you and about what your beliefs are, and have these like thoughtful discussions that support you in raising, awareness and things like that. So I would say be really creative when you're thinking about what you have authority over. But I really only focus on, if there's nothing, literally absolutely nothing I can do, I just let that go, because that's not going to support me. So, for example, when there's scary things happening in the news, if I can't respond to it, I like, it kind of like goes in one ear and out the other until I have the ability to shift something intentionally. And I'm giving you the permission to remove whatever it is from your life that makes you feel anxious and sad, at least temporarily. So I really, for the longest time, I had a zero news tolerance policy. And now I choose to stay informed, because at this point, many years later, more than a decade later, I have the authority I can read news stories that are sad or make me angry or whatever. I can read those without having them like truly affect me. Where 10 years ago, I used to read a news story and sit and cry on my couch, literally, because I'm an intuitive empath. So I feel other people. So if you need to remove things, at least temporarily, that bring you down, I'm giving you permission, and not that you need it, but you have permission to unplug from the news for whatever period of time you need to feel good. You can watch for negative things in the media you can consume and shift. I had a very interesting relationship with time. And I walked through my entire life saying, but I don't have time for that. And I don't have time for this. And one day I had this amazing awareness, like a light bulb moment. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know what I watch? Chopped, nailed it. All of these cooking shows where people are asked to do completely impossible things and given only a half an hour to do it. So guess what I was hearing again and again and again and again in news, in the media and the TV I was consuming was, I don't have enough time. I can't get things done. I could have done better if I had more time. So when I removed those cooking shows that were really pushing against a clock from my, like, I just stopped watching them. I had a better relationship with time because we think that subliminal messaging is over and done. It was like a thing in the 50s. No, it's just a lot more sneaky now. And so you are always being programmed by the media that you're watching. So start noticing and watching out for negative themes. And you can temporarily, like, you get to decide what's right for you, but you have permission to remove people from your life that stress you out. You can choose to change your relationship with people, even if it's temporary or maybe it's permanent. But like, if there are people in your life that don't support you on your journey, you have the right to change your relationship with them. And there have been plenty of people that while I was working on like a great example, when I was working on a big vision and it felt really challenging and I didn't know what to do, I minimized my interaction with the people in my life that are analysts that like to poke holes in things and look at why things are hard. Because I was excited and I would talk about my vision. And they're like, well, you don't know how to do that. And like going back to, I shared a picture of the Octopussy art car earlier. You have no idea how many people told me to stop. Like because I was like, I'm stressed and I don't know. I'm having to learn from YouTube what we're gonna do. So many people just said, just stop. Like, what are you doing? Why are you stressing yourself out? Like, why would you choose to do this? Like, you should choose to stop. So I started limiting my time with those people because I had a dream and I was working on it. And yes, I was stressed and yes, it was hard, but it's been the greatest gift of one of the best things I've ever done with my entire life, like top 5 things. And if I had listened to those naysayers, I would have quit along the way. So I had to remove or shift my relationship with those people that I never talked about the Octopussy, or I didn't see those people because I needed to be at a place where I needed support. I needed cheerleaders. I didn't need people that were going to poke holes in my dreams. So please remove or feel free to remove whatever you need to from your life that helps you shift your focus to where you have power. And another way to shift your focus is you can focus on things that bring you joy. Gratitude journaling is a great way to shift your focus. And notice the language that you're using. And shift the stories that you're telling. So I notice this all the time. Is when you ask people, how was your day? And you know them pretty well. They start talking about all the bad parts of their day. Have you ever noticed that? That's oftentimes people's default is the negative things. I mean, it was pretty good, but I had struggled to find a parking spot and then this was bad or whatever. So I just notice and am mindful, what are the stories that I'm telling myself around uh things, or what are the stories I'm telling other people when I'm talking about my retreat that I just got out of this weekend, which was amazing. Am I immediately focused on all the things I'll shift next year when it's not my first rodeo and I know what I'm doing a little bit more? Or can I focus on sharing first the impact that it created and how touched and how amazing and how synchronistic everything was? So just notice the language you're using. If you want to have more abundance, don't focus on or talk about where you don't have money. Focus on where you do already have abundance and talk about those stories. and focus on good news. Like I said, focus on, I love to do this. And now my social media is curated for these things about like a poodle that like saved somebody's life. They didn't know that like the dog could sense that someone was going to have a seizure, and the dog like got the person on the ground so that they didn't fall and like hit their head. Those are the feel good stories I really like to focus on and reinforce. And another most important way you shift your focus is have impeccable self-care every day. So every day you are communicating messages to yourself through how much, and I really say morning routine. Some people aren't morning people, but every minute you spend pouring into yourself throughout the day is reinforcing yourself that you have the resources, you have the time, you have the means to take care of yourself. And when your nervous system is calm and grounded, that's when you can manifest more. So, really supporting yourself every single day with impeccable self-care is one of the best things you can do to be a manifester of your wildest dreams and help you shift your focus. So start with the basics. Are you getting enough rest? Are you well hydrated? Do you have enough food? Do you have enough connection and love in your life? So these are the subtle action steps you can take today to start shifting your focus to the positive. And I want to talk about emotional routine maintenance because nobody tells you about like, but we really need to have modalities and we need to process our emotions regularly. Otherwise, if you're not processing your emotions, they start building up. And just like a pressure cooker, when your emotions build and build and build and build, and then all of a sudden it just takes one little thing and psh, they're exploding everywhere, highly pressurized. But if you were to take the pressure off of your like by when we allow ourselves to express our emotions regularly, we're taking the pressure off of those emotions so they're not just building and building and building and building because we're constantly draining that pressure off. So some great ways you can have emotional maintenance is daily or weekly practices of working with your emotions. And that may sound like a lot, but it's quite simple. It simply involves giving yourself the time and space to feel your emotions. And you could do journaling at the end of every day for a few minutes. You could do EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. I'm going to show you some other techniques later today that help calm your nervous system and calm your emotions. But I really love the idea of a date with self-doubt. And this is a really powerful tool I learned from somebody many years ago when I was just starting out in my business 7 years ago, and I wasn't certain if I was going to be able to make it. Like I was really struggling in a lot of different ways, and I just doubted that I had the ability or I was ever going to make enough money, or I was filled with self-doubt around my business. And a coach taught me this, and there every week I had 15 minutes to journal where I let the voice of doubt speak. And it was just 15 minutes. It was like, it was 9:15 a.m. on a Friday morning. I would sit with my journal, and I'd sit with loose leaf paper because I didn't ever want to keep tabs on it. I would sit with loose leaf paper and just write on this little piece of paper all my fears, all my doubts, all the negative stuff I wanted to get out of my head. I wrote it down on a piece of paper. And then I burned that paper. So it was out of my head onto paper, and that felt very cathartic. I just burned it in my little fireplace. And it felt like releasing. You know what I mean? Those emotions are no longer inside of me. They're on the paper, and then they were transformed and burned away with the fire. But here's the cool thing about how and why this works. You have to do it every single week for it to work. You have to honor that appointment, because what would happen is as I would go through my life feeling a little bit fearful or having self-doubt, every time self-doubt came up, I would say, just like if somebody showed up at my house for an appointment, but it wasn't their appointment time, I would just say, okay, thank you. Well, this is not the time for you. Your time is on Friday at 9:15 in the morning. I'll see you then. And crazy enough, my self-doubt actually started going away because it knew it was going to be expressed. It knew I would give it a voice at this certain time. So that's why honoring this with a weekly practice is so important, because I'm committing to myself that I will give my doubt the time to speak. It doesn't need to run wild. And I actually didn't have doubt outside of those appointments after a while. You could consider going to a smash room. Those are very cathartic. They're actually very good for manifesting because you can visualize smashing what's ever holding you back. I talked earlier about journaling. Nature is a really good way to do emotional routine maintenance day to day. And it doesn't have to be like walking on a trail, it could be sitting in a backyard or going to a park. Getting your feet on the grass is grounding. We talked about EFT tapping, which I'm going to very briefly go over. This is called emotional freedom technique tapping, and you are tapping on these. EFT is ancient Chinese medicine meets modern day psychology, which is why it's so neat. And it is the most highly studied tool for releasing emotions. There are so many research studies showing that by doing this tapping on these meridians, that you're actually releasing the emotions. And the reason why and how it works is each of these meridians is associated with a specific organ. And in Chinese medicine, each organ holds and processes a different emotion. So when you're tapping right here underneath your collarbone, you're actually activating your kidney, which processes fear. And then when you're tapping in another area, I think this is either stomach or gallbladder. I always forget. But this, when you tap on the side of your eye, like where your temple is lightly, you're actually digesting up and breaking up your limiting beliefs. So that's what's so cool and how emotional freedom technique works. I'm going to teach you really briefly in like a minute how it works, but I would encourage you, if you don't have a practice with regularly releasing your emotions, start with EFT because it's the easiest. And all you need to do is go to YouTube and say EFT tapping for anger or tapping for grief or whatever emotion you're feeling, and you'll find a tap along video. But basically, what it is you identify the issue, which is like saying the emotion you don't want to be feeling, overwhelm, anxiety, whatever that is. You rate the intensity of the issue before you start, and 10 out of 10 is being the worst. Then you determine the phrase, even though I have overwhelm, I love and accept myself anyways. And you do this while you're tapping. Even though I have overwhelm, I love and accept myself anyways. Even though I have overwhelm, I love and accept myself anyways. And you can switch up the words, even though I have anxiety, even though I'm afraid right now, I love and accept myself anyways. So you get to decide what the phrasing is. And that's why I like the tap along videos. But after you've tapped on the 9 major meridians, then you rate the intensity again and you keep tapping until it goes all the way down to a 1 or wherever you feel like stopping. But you can get a significant, I've gone from a 10 to a 1 in 5 minutes. Like it is amazing how quickly this works. And again, it's the most scientifically researched way to release your emotions, a great place to start. So, self mastery of your emotions is important because things are going to get tough. This is just a fact that you will face hardships. Like it's part of our hero's story. Like our lives would be, we think we want our lives to be like perfect and pristine and pretty, but in reality, that would be really boring. And so when things are really tough and you're in a place of deep emotion, you can choose to reclaim your power. And when I say that, I'm saying, okay, well, this situation is creating and I'm responding by feeling anxiety, but at any given moment I can pause, I can do some tapping, I can do some breathing, I can do something that takes the power away from the anxiety and brings it back to me. And you can look for the silver lining. And like I said, this is one of the most transformational things I've experienced in my entire life is that every single negative thing that happens to you is for you. There is some lesson, there is some growth, there is some learning you can get out of this if you choose to. You can list the things that you're grateful for. Anytime where you're in a tough spot and you list your gratitudes, you are literally tuning into the energy and the emotion of gratitude, pulling your emotions up that frequency chart I showed you earlier. And if you're having a stressful day, this is what I talked about. When people say, how was your day? Oh, it was good, but, da 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 da. Or it was okay. Here's all the negative things that happen. What if you could just flip the script and start with the positive first? That's not saying don't share the negative things, but what if you started with and led with all of the things that were incredible first? And anytime you're having a challenging situation or you're feeling challenged by a person, you can focus on the things about the person or the situation that you actually appreciate and you're grateful for. I recently had a situation where I was working with and collaborating with somebody. I mean, I hired them, but it was very clear it wasn't a good energetic fit, but I was already too deep to back out. So I started saying, okay, what am I learning and growing? Like, how is this person like they're pushing my buttons or I'm triggered? But when you're triggered, that means there's like something locked and loaded ready to come out. So I started saying, well, what am I learning from this situation? How can I do better next time? What do I like about this person? And so even though I didn't like them, some of the comments they made felt passive aggressive to me, but I appreciated that they were highly communicative. And so those are some of the things like they were highly communicative and they were conscientious on certain things that they said. And so that was a really good thing. And so you can always focus on what you love about the person or what you appreciate about the person. And the reason why this is so important is a calm nervous system helps you manifest your dreams. Like it truly helps you manifest your dreams because remember, it is your emotions that are doing the manifesting for you. So if you want to calm your nervous system, one of the best things you can do is get back in your body. And it's as simple as like rubbing your fingers together. Sometimes I'll scrunch my toes in my shoes. Or if I want to get in my body, I'll just take my hands and I'll pet my legs or whatever is available to me in that moment. Oh, yep. Here we go. Crunch your toes in your shoes. You can touch something soft like a blanket or a pet. These things release oxytocin, and oxytocin is a neurotransmitter that calms your nervous system. You can do the butterfly hug and tap, which is what this picture is, which is simply you take your arms, you cross them at the wrists, and you just very slowly tap one arm and the other. And it doesn't really matter. I've had people tell me they tap their chest. You can tap your shoulders. You can tap, I like to tap my arms because this just feels natural. Just tap and then tap. And then you tap the other side, just slow and calm. And this is another highly researched tool for calming your overwhelm, calming your emotions, reducing anger and anxiety. It's just these slow taps. Oh, yes, that butterfly hug a lot. I'm so glad to hear that you like it. I find it to be so beneficial. And again, if you're anxious, my first thing was one time I was like, this doesn't work because that's not calming right now. Slow taps back and forth. And then you can do the havening technique, which let's talk about the havening. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but this was one of the best examples I could find. I've heard it where you like it, but it's just about getting out of your head and into your body. I've seen it done where you like pet your face and just slowly drag your fingertips down your face. This one says you rub your cheeks outward. It doesn't really matter how you're rubbing your body. It's just like taking a couple minutes to be calm and rub your body. Another thing is this is one I do a lot too is arm havening. Like you can pet your own arms. And again, it's very similar to the butterfly hug and tap. You're crossing your arms and then you're just petting yourself. And you know what's so fun is I've done this intuitively and I've seen people do this. The very first time I ever spoke, because I'm a professional speaker, but I used to be terrified to speak. And I recorded myself the very first time I spoke. And I noticed that so much during the presentation, I didn't know what to do with my hands. And so I'm sitting. So it's like not, I wasn't doing it in front of my face, but I was literally just doing this like in front of my body and rubbing my hands together for so much of that talk. I was unconsciously calming my nervous system down. So just gently petting yourself is what we call the havening technique. And again, highly researched, very effective tool. Like, I don't know if you even noticed my energy. I'm like, I was calm before, but now I'm just like a little bit more chilled out just with some simple pets. So petting yourself is a havening technique. And so now that you know that what manifesting comes from uh, your emotions and a calm nervous system, let's actually circle back to what are the steps to manifest. Because we talked about how to calm your emotions, we talked about how to calm your nervous system. So let's talk about the 4 steps it takes to start manifesting. And these 4 steps are get real on or get clear on your real desire. And this is something you want because you want it. There's no secondary intention. There's no I want abundance because then I will feel free because that's not a real desire. And by the way, abundance isn't money is never a desire anyways. Money is a vehicle to get you to what you want. Because if you want $1 million, you didn't want that money just so you could like swim in a swimming pool money. You want it because whatever that money is going to get you. So focus on that as your real desire, something you want because you want it and no other reason. Step number 2 is visualize each and every day. That is getting into the emotions and all 5 senses of what it's like to be experiencing your whatever you're manifesting. As if it's already happened in your mind. And the reason why this is so powerful is your subconscious can't tell the difference between media, imagination, and reality. It's all real to your subconscious. So the more that you visualize whatever it is you want to create, getting into the emotions, getting into the senses, like really putting yourself in the future time where you've achieved that, then you're tricking your subconscious into thinking you've already experienced it. And remember what I said at the very beginning, your subconscious has 2 jobs: prove you right and keep you safe. And safe is just simply, have you survived this before? So if you visualize enough, you actually naturally release resistance, which means you let go of fear, self-doubt, procrastination, unworthiness. You naturally release all of these things when you are visualizing enough. But I do this with my clients in the form of neuroscience mindset training. I have a biofeedback device that rewires people's brains for more happiness and success. I do superconscious recoding. Everything I do with clients is helping them release the resistance. And I'll tell you more in a minute about what that looks like in case you're interested in learning more. But when I say releasing resistance, that is just a fancy way of saying, getting your beliefs and emotions in alignment with your desires. Because most of the time we walk through the world in out of alignment. I want abundance, but I'm practiced in living paycheck to paycheck. And if this was a fishing pole and it was broken in half, you're probably not catching any fish this way. But when we can get your emotions and beliefs in alignment with your desires, it's like you're operating, you snap the fishing pole in place, and then you cast it out and you reel in the fish, or in this case, your dreams. And then step number 4 is take action. Any action will do. It doesn't need to be the perfect action or the right action. It just needs to be the right action for that moment, meaning that in all of the action steps you think that are available, that you can see are available to you right now, what seems to be the most obvious that it would be beneficial for you. So that is what I mean by taking action steps. So if you would like to start taking action steps to releasing resistance, I would love to take just a couple minutes to share with you about the Empowered Living membership. This is my community of manifesting machines I've created, and I would love to take you on a little tour of what it's like to be in the Empowered Living membership. So some of the benefits of participation in this membership is I help you get crystal clear on your vision. Because honestly, this is the number one thing that blocks people from manifesting is they're trying to manifest indirectly or they don't know exactly what they want. So by knowing what you want and having crystal clear vision, you are much more likely to manifest and receive it. It also, when you know what your vision is, it's faster, easier, and less confusing to make decisions because you know where you want to go. So the only question you need to ask is, do I think that this choice or that choice is going to get me closer to my vision? And really it obliterates indecision and analysis paralysis, which I know is these are both big things that hamper us on the way to our dreams. I also teach people how to master effective visualization, which helps them embody magnetism. When you can play, and again, visualization is a misnomer. You don't have to be able to play a movie in your mind to be able to visualize. But when you can get into the emotion of already having what you want, you become magnetic for situations, people and resources that are going to support you in achieving whatever it is you're visualizing, which means you're effortlessly attracting resources, opportunities, people, places, situations. They come to you with ease. And another thing, another amazing benefit of the Empowered Living membership is accountability. I help support you in staying focused. I find the number one way that resistance shows up for people is they decide that they want to do something, and then somewhere along the way they get distracted and they stop focusing on their dream. Like I've heard so many people say it's like, well, I was doing, I was working on this project, and then the next thing I knew I was cleaning a toilet. Like, and that's because we have an unfocused mind. So accountability helps you stay focused. Some more benefits of the Empowered Living membership is that everything I do is based in neuroscience. So I use these neuroscience based processes to easily release the roadblocks and help you shift your perception to align with what you consciously want and desire. Like I literally teach you how to shift from being stuck and in a place of resistance to flowing through and being magnetic for your dreams. There's support in consistent action taking because remember, there's only 4 steps in manifesting, and all of them are very important. And it's really easy when we can't see what the next action step is to just not take that next action step. So when you're surrounded by a community of like-minded people that are all on the mission for their dreams, and you get the mastermind effect. So Napoleon Hill wrote in the book Think and Grow Rich, anytime 2 or more people gather, there are 3 or more energies there. So like the person A has an energy, person B has an energy, and then the mastermind effect between them creates an energy all of its own. So I find that people in the Empowered Living membership manifest much, much, much easier than people than they'll if they leave the Empowered Living membership, they stop manifesting, even though they have the tools, they're not surrounded by the community of people that support them. So the final benefits, and then we'll get on to what the details of the Empowered Living membership are, is you have on-demand learning to support shifting your mindset, which means these experiential trainings that actually literally rewire your brain for more happiness and success are available to you at any given moment. And yeah, thank you so much. That's why you stay you stay participating in the Empowered Living membership, accountability and continuous manifestation. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. And another thing is support. I am there to hold your hand and support you in achieving your dreams, especially when things get hard or you feel stuck or you don't know what to do. You have an expert you can lean on, and I am so, so happy to support you. And really, the number one benefit, all of these things together, is you become a manifesting machine for your dreams. That is the purpose of the Empowered Living membership. So so you get to attract what you want. Just a couple details. If you want to sign up today, you can use this QR code if it feels aligned to join the Empowered Living membership. And oops, I forgot to update this slide. So this will be the last time I offer this membership at this price. We did increase the price. It was actually July 1st. But I had quite a few people sign up for this before then. So I want to give one last discounted price. So the next step is if you decide you want to join the Empowered Living membership, you can scan the QR code. I'll also put a link in the resources that go out with this. But basically you sign up for the membership, and then we jump on a 20-minute call just to see if it's a good fit for you. And there's just a couple spots I can do up to 2 people at this discounted rate. And then we're going to go ahead and put the price up. So the universe rewards quick action. And there's actually a principle that says the universe loves speed. So the idea of how quickly can you go from an idea to implementation actually dramatically increases your success in whatever it is that you're implementing. And your dreams are waiting for you. So it's time to start manifesting your wildest dreams now. So I have a couple, if for anybody who joins the Empowered Living membership before the end of the month. So before August 1st, 2025, I've got a couple bonuses I'll throw in for you. I'll add in a Create Your Vision workshop, which comes with a private 30-minute coaching session with me. And that's valued at $297 for the workshop and the private coaching. I'll also throw in a ticket to my Manifest Your Membership program the next time I offer it, which that class right now, and it teaches you how to create your own thriving membership or group program, just like the Empowered Living membership. That program is valued at $297. That's the current ticket price. And I'm happy to send you a free copy of my workbook, which is, I wrote this workbook called Live an Empowered Life Now, and it's a $27 value, but it is the 12-week workbook that supports you in actually implementing all of these things. So together, the bonuses for anyone who signs up before the end of July is $668 of extra bonuses plus the discounted bonus. So I appreciate each and every one of you, and I honor we went a couple minutes over because we started a couple minutes late. But with that, I'm going to stop the recording and open up for shares.